The story of the Comanche is one of unstoppable transformation from humble beginnings to masters of the Great Plains. Their legacy echoes through centuries of fierce battles and unyielding resistance. The origins of the Comanche are deeply rooted in their connection to the Shoshone people. As part of the Shoshonean branch of the Uto-Aztecan linguistic family, the Comanche shared a cultural and linguistic heritage with other tribes across the Great Basin. For centuries, they lived as hunters and gatherers in this rugged and resource-scarce region, relying on their environment for sustenance. Their existence was characterized by a deep understanding of the land, which dictated their seasonal movements and influenced their societal structure. The arid and mountainous terrain of the Great Basin shaped their early lifestyle, but it also limited their opportunities for expansion and interaction with neighboring tribes. The late 17th century marked a turning point for the Comanche when they acquired horses. This momentous event forever altered the trajectory of their culture and way of life. The introduction of the horse, initially brought to the Americas by Spanish explorers, revolutionized mobility and allowed the Comanche to move beyond the constraints of their mountain home. No longer bound by the limitations of foot travel, they became a highly mobile society capable of traversing vast distances with ease. The horse not only transformed their means of transportation, but also reshaped their hunting practices. Once reliant on endurance and strategy to hunt game, the Comanche now had the speed and power to pursue buffalo, which became central to their survival. The migration of the Comanche onto the Great Plains marked the beginning of a new era. Leaving the Great Basin, they ventured eastward into the vast grasslands of eastern Colorado and western Kansas. This transition was not merely geographic but cultural, as they adapted to a new environment teeming with opportunities. The plains provided abundant resources, from the large herds of buffalo to the wild mustangs that roamed freely. The climate was milder, the terrain more navigable, and the opportunities for trade more accessible. These factors contributed to the rapid evolution of the Comanche into a dominant force on the plains. Their mastery of horseback riding was unparalleled, and it quickly became a defining characteristic of their culture. From a young age, Comanche children were taught to ride, often before they could walk. This early exposure to horses allowed them to develop exceptional skills, making them some of the finest equestrians in the world. Both men and women became proficient riders, and their ability to maneuver swiftly and efficiently on horseback gave them a significant advantage in hunting and warfare. The horse became a symbol of wealth and status within the tribe, with larger herds reflecting greater influence and power. The transformation of the Comanche from footbound hunters to horse-mounted warriors and traders was nothing short of revolutionary. This cultural shift set the stage for their rise as one of the most formidable tribes in North America. Their newfound mobility and adaptability allowed them to expand their territory, establish trade networks, and assert their dominance over rival tribes and European settlers alike. The acquisition of horses was more than a technological advancement. It was a catalyst for the cultural renaissance that defined the Comanche people for generations to come. As the Comanche migrated southward onto the Great Plains, they carved out a vast territory that would come to be known as Comanche. This expansive region, spanning parts of modern-day Texas, Oklahoma, New Mexico, and Colorado, became the heart of Comanche power. Their dominance over this territory was achieved through a combination of military prowess, strategic alliances, and economic acumen. Comanche was not just a geographic domain. It was a cultural and economic hub where the Comanche exerted their influence over the surrounding peoples and trade networks. The establishment of Comanche was marked by the Comanche's ability to adapt to their new environment and exploit its resources to their advantage. The southern plains were rich in buffalo herds, which became the cornerstone of their economy and way of life. Buffalo provided not only food, but also materials for clothing, shelter, and tools. The Comanche developed sophisticated techniques for hunting and processing buffalo, ensuring that no part of the animal went to waste. This efficiency allowed them to sustain large populations and expand their influence across the plains. The Comanche's rise to power was also facilitated by their engagement in trade. They established lucrative trade relationships with European powers, particularly the French, who supplied them with firearms, ammunition, and other goods. These trade networks extended to neighboring tribes, such as the Wichita, who became key partners in the exchange of horses, buffalo products, and European goods. The Comanches' control over these trade routes further solidified their economic dominance and allowed them to amass wealth and resources that were unrivaled by other tribes. Conflict was an inevitable consequence of the Comanches' expansion. Their migration onto the plains brought them into contact with established tribes, such as the Apache, who also sought to control the region's resources. The Comanches' superior mobility and tactical prowess gave them an edge in these conflicts, enabling them to drive the Apache southward and assert their dominance over the southern plains. These victories not only expanded their territory, but also enhanced their reputation as formidable warriors, further deterring potential adversaries. Common Korea was more than just a physical space. It was a reflection of the Comanches' cultural and political ingenuity. Their decentralized political structure, organized into autonomous bands, allowed them to maintain flexibility and resilience in the face of external threats. Each band operated independently, with its own leadership and decision-making processes, yet they were united by shared cultural values and a common identity as the Embark, or the people. This unity, combined with their strategic use of resources and alliances, made Common Korea a formidable force that shaped the history of the Great Plains for over a century. The expansion of European empires and later American settlers into the Great Plains brought the Comanche into direct conflict with external powers. Throughout the 18th and 19th centuries, the Comanche resisted the encroachment of Spanish, Mexican, and American forces, defending their territory and way of life with unrelenting determination. These conflicts were not merely skirmishes, but prolonged struggles that defined the relationship between the Comanche and the outside world. The Spanish were among the first to encounter the Comanche's military might. In 1758, the Comanche, along with their allies, attacked a Spanish mission on the San Saba River, effectively halting Spanish expansion into the southern plains. Despite their superior technology and resources, the Spanish were unable to subdue the Comanche, who employed guerrilla tactics and leveraged their superior mobility to outmaneuver larger and less agile Spanish forces. The Spanish were forced to negotiate peace treaties, often offering gifts and promises that they struggled to uphold. As Spanish power waned in the early 19th century, the Comanche turned their attention to the emerging Mexican state. The Mexican government's inability to fulfill the promises made by the Spanish, combined with the influx of American settlers into Texas, led to increased tensions. The Comanche raided Mexican settlements, taking horses and goods that they traded with American settlers, further complicating the political landscape of the region. These raids were not random acts of violence, but strategic efforts to assert control over their territory and maintain their economic independence. The arrival of American settlers in Texas marked a new chapter in the Comanche's struggle for survival. Initially, trade fostered a fragile peace, but as settlers encroached on Comanche hunting grounds, tensions escalated. The Republic of Texas, under leaders like Sam Houston, attempted to negotiate peace, but their refusal to establish clear boundaries between Texan and Comanche territories led to further conflict. The infamous Council House Fight of 1840, where Texan officials killed 35 Comanche leaders during a peace negotiation, exemplified the betrayal and mistrust that defined this era. The Comanche's resistance to settler expansion was both a testament to their resilience and a reflection of the challenges they faced in a rapidly changing world. Their ability to adapt and respond to external threats ensured their survival, even as they faced increasing pressure from more technologically advanced adversaries. The conflicts between the Comanche and settlers were not merely battles for territory, but struggles for cultural preservation and autonomy in the face of relentless encroachment. The establishment of the Republic of Texas in 1836 marked a pivotal moment in the long history of conflict between the Comanche and settlers. With Texan independence came a surge of settlers, eager to claim land that had long been considered part of common Korea. This influx exacerbated tensions as the newcomers occupied traditional hunting grounds, disrupted trade routes, and brought new diseases that ravaged the indigenous population. The Republic's leaders were split on how to handle the Comanche. While figures like Sam Houston sought peace through negotiation, others, such as Mirabeau B. Lamar, pursued a policy of aggressive confrontation. Sam Houston's presidency saw an attempt to establish peaceful relations with the Comanche. Recognizing the strength and autonomy of the Comanche, Houston proposed the establishment of a boundary between Texan and Comanche territories, ensuring mutual respect and coexistence. However, this proposal faced staunch opposition in the Texan Congress, where settlers demanded unrestricted access to land for farming and settlement. The failure of this peace policy left Houston's successor, Lamar, free to implement his own vision of Texan expansion. Lamar's administration took a hardline approach, leading to one of the most infamous events in Texan-Comanche relations, the Council House Fight of 1840. Texan officials invited a group of Comanche leaders to San Antonio under the pretense of negotiating peace. However, the meeting quickly turned violent when Texans demanded the return of all captives held by the Comanche. When the Comanche leaders explained that they had brought all captives they could locate, the Texans attempted to detain them. The resulting melee left 35 Comanche dead, including 12 chiefs, and marked a significant betrayal of trust. The fallout from the Council House fight was immediate and devastating. The Comanche launched a massive retaliatory raid, led by the renowned war leader Buffalo Hump. The raid swept through South Texas, leaving destruction in its wake as settlements were burned, livestock stolen, and settlers killed. The conflict culminated at Plum Creek, where Texan forces intercepted the retreating Comanche and engaged them in battle. Although the Texans claimed victory, the raid underscored the resilience and determination of the Comanche to defend their way of life. The Republic's aggressive policies failed to bring lasting peace or security. Instead, they deepened animosities and fueled cycles of violence that would persist for decades. The Comanche's ability to resist, even in the face of mounting pressures, highlighted their resilience and the challenges settlers faced in subduing such a formidable opponent. The mid-19th century saw the decline of Comanche power as a combination of military campaigns, disease, and environmental changes weakened their hold on the Great Plains. The depletion of buffalo herds, driven by overhunting, and the expansion of settler agriculture dealt a severe blow to the Comanche economy. Without their primary source of sustenance and trade, the Comanche faced starvation and increased reliance on raiding to survive. The United States government, following the annexation of Texas in 1845, adopted a more systematic approach to dealing with the Comanche. Treaties were negotiated, often under duress, in an effort to confine the Comanche to reservations. The Treaty of Medicine Lodge Creek in 1867 marked a significant turning point. It established a reservation for the Comanche, Kiowa, and Apache tribes in what is now southwestern Oklahoma. However, the treaty's provisions were poorly enforced, and the promised supplies and protections often failed to materialize, leading to further unrest. The Red River War of 1874 to 1875 represented the final major military campaign against the Comanche. Sparked by resistance to buffalo hunters encroaching on tribal lands, the conflict saw Comanche warriors, led by figures like Quanah Parker, take up arms in a last-ditch effort to defend their territory. The U.S. Army, equipped with superior weaponry and logistical support, launched a relentless campaign to force the Comanche onto reservations. The destruction of the Comanche horse herds at Palo Duro Canyon was a decisive blow, depriving them of their mobility and ability to resist. By 1875, the Comanche had been forced to surrender and relocate to the Fort Sill Reservation. Once a population numbering tens of thousands, their numbers had dwindled to fewer than 1,600. The transition to reservation life marked the end of common Korea and the beginning of a new chapter in Comanche history. The U.S. government's efforts to assimilate the Comanche included banning traditional practices, promoting Christianity, and introducing Western-style education. These policies aimed to erase Comanche culture, but they also laid the groundwork for a resurgence of identity in the 20th century. The 20th century was a period of profound change and adaptation for the Comanche people. Despite the hardships of reservation life, they found ways to preserve their cultural heritage and assert their identity in a rapidly modernizing world. The World Wars provided an unexpected opportunity for many Comanche to demonstrate their resilience and patriotism. During World War II, Comanche code talkers played a crucial role in the Allied victory, using their language to create unbreakable codes that baffled enemy forces. Their contributions highlighted the enduring value of Comanche traditions in a global context. In the 1960s and 1970s, inspired by the broader Native American civil rights movement, the Comanche began to organize politically and culturally. They established a tribal government based in Lawton, Oklahoma, which allowed them to advocate for their rights and manage their own affairs. This period also saw efforts to revitalize the Comanche language and traditions, with elders passing down knowledge to younger generations. Cultural festivals, language classes, and historical preservation projects became central to the Comanche's efforts to reclaim their heritage. Today, the Comanche Nation boasts a population of approximately 16,000 members, with nearly half residing in southwestern Oklahoma. The tribe has embraced modern opportunities while maintaining a strong connection to its roots. Economic initiatives, including casinos and tourism, have provided resources for education, healthcare, and cultural programs. At the same time, the Comanche continue to honor their ancestors through storytelling, ceremonies, and the preservation of sacred sites. The legacy of the Comanche is one of resilience and adaptability. From their rise as masters of the Great Plains to their struggles against colonial powers, the Comanche have demonstrated an unyielding commitment to their identity and way of life. Their history is a testament to the enduring spirit of a people who, despite immense challenges, have found ways to thrive and contribute to the broader tapestry of American history.